Hello and welcome to the Quell YouTube channel. And what we do here is we talk a lot around staff safety, all under the umbrella of what we call workplace violence. Now in this video I'd like to talk about hospitality and security. The three main pillars of conversation I'd like to start are around, well, one being the risk assessment. Have we addressed our risk assessment? And I know a lot of people don't like hearing the term risk assessment because it can irritate people. But what I try to explain to my clients is, well, let's look at, is there any new risks? In hospitality, I've dealt with more incidents lately to do with where customers, guests, whoever that might be, are videoing via their mobile phone of the staff and then putting that onto some form of social media platform. I've then encouraged the organisations to look at the procedures. If it's a new client, I go through the procedures and see if it's heavy reading or it's too light reading or has it hit the mark. And with procedures, you've got to hit that right mark with explanation to say to the staff, this is what you actually do, without confusing the element or putting the blame too much on an organisation or too much on the staff. So it's a fine line, but there's a balance there. Then the next pillar I talk a lot about is training. Okay. I don't mean bringing outside organisations in like ourselves. I mean in-house training I'm very into, and I get a lot of staff to have discussions about, in team meetings, about problems and risks and areas and things like that can encourage them to talk openly about the subject and work with each other and share what I love to talk about during, even when I deliver the training, is sharing of good practice. So if that staff member does it a certain way and it works, well, why aren't we copying it? Them type of things. Then I try to talk about with a lot of the staff within hospitality about, okay, well, it's okay to talk about security, but what elements of security are we going to talk about? Firstly, I look at the organisation and I say, well, look, the security you've hired, if it's internal or external, are they properly trained? Are they hitting the mark? Anyone that's been in the security world, in the door supervisory world, knows that a high percentage of what we do is hospitality. We greet and we obviously have to deal with problems and solve problems. So what I ask the organisation to say, how are we hitting the mark with the security? Not just the staff and the reception, but are the security staff hitting that right marker? Then I ask to look at things like, well, let's look at the reception area. Okay, what does it have in the reception area? Do we have CCTV screens? Are the cameras in the right place? Do we have an alarm system? If we press the alarm, how do we actually respond to incidents? How do we improve the security of even the staff that are working throughout the night? Because nighttime staff will obviously deal with incidents differently than what possibly the daytime shift will do. I then talk a lot about communication within hospitality. Well, how do we communicate with each other? Do we go back to the basics of using code words, which I'm very much into? Again, these subjects I mentioned are on videos. If you go through the channel, you'll see. Do I talk about, get them to talk about the radio system? Is it an effective system? Does it work? Does it have a fall detection system on it? Do they have any form of panic button on the radio system? Do they wear, shall we say, earpieces? What do they actually do to communicate with each other? A lot of organisations in hospitality I've been working with recently, the staff all have mobile phones and they twin as walkie-talkies, and they also have apps on them and things like that. If you want more information, give me a call or drop me a line and I'll point you in the right direction. I then talk about the systems within an organisation, especially in the hospitality. I talk about, well, okay, if we're dealing with somebody on the influence, how do we deal with them differently if they're being aggressive, if they've got a complaint, if they've got an issue with another guest, customer, or whatever that might even have a complaint about the menu. But how do we actually effectively deal with them behaviours? Importantly, all under the bracket of making sure everybody's safe and secure. So do we get a supervisor? Do we get a manager? How do we control that environment? Again, we can take that back to our training. And the last thing, when I talk about the dark side of hospitality, especially in the hotel, the bars and the restaurants, is when we have to actually remove somebody from the premises. The eviction. Again, it's one of them subjects that, which quite rightly a lot of hospitality try to, shall we say, shy away from. But what I do put across is this. It's important to understand what we're actually doing. So in hospitality, it's not as, I'm playing it down, but it's something that we should really be looking at. And it should be something, even I get my clients in hospitality to think about. the risks. Okay, are our procedures up to date? Do our staff know exactly what to do? And have we trained them to the right level? And I was even joking with a client the other day as I try to give examples. It was great. They had a fantastic CCTV system in this hotel. It was brilliant, all high tech. But a high percentage of the staff didn't know how to operate it. But yet they were cleared to use it and operate it, but they didn't know how to properly take the data off it, and they didn't know how to properly operate it or switch screens. And I pointed out that's a very important part of that overall security bracket in hospitality. So I'm hoping the points is hundreds of more points, but I'm hoping the small points I've given you are just giving you a conversation starter. And possibly just look on the security within hospitality and is it effective. Thank you for watching. Please continue to watch our videos on our social media platform, which is LinkedIn. And again, if you've ever got any questions, please comment, like, whatever you have to do, because it encourages us to put more videos together. And as I'm sure you've guessed by now, nobody wants to do the videos, only me. Stay safe, whatever you're doing, and bye for now.